What is going on, Internet? Eric Bandholz back again with another e-commerce conversations. I hope all is well on the other side of the internet. On the other side of the internet from me, it's you guys. Got another solo episode. And I got a feeling you guys kind of like these. It's going to be a Beardbrand one. Kind of like a 2025 recap. The good, the bad, the ugly. And then at the end of it, I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit of the personal stuff. Show you what, we talk about business a lot, but at the end of the day, it's like, why do we do the business? It's kind of for our personal lives. And I think that's something that's important to be a reminder on these podcasts. You can get so focused on business, growth, overcoming problem, that we don't always have the reminders to focus on the things that really matter. So, as we get into the holiday season, I want you guys to think about that and think about what's important to you, evaluate how you should be allocating your life, the things that you do, and what's really important to you. So I've got this broken down. I've got about 20 bullet points, I guess, of the good, bad, and the ugly. As you guys who have been listening to this podcast know, 2023, 2024 were really challenging years for me personally, as well as the company Beardbrand. We lost significant money in 2023. We lost not as significant money in 2024. And the good news is in 2025, we were finally able to get back in the black. And, I think about our conservative financial strategy up to really when things started getting really bad, helped us continue to exist in the marketplace, helped us to withstand the volatility of a lot of rapid changes all at once that were not fruitful, helped us able to kind of like support our staff and downtimes for as long as we could. It helped us really wither the storm. So that was good. It's good to be back in the black. There are some kind of like asterisks to that, which maybe I'll talk about it a little bit later. From a growth perspective, we have focused intently on our subscriptions. I think at our worst, we were down to about 1,500 subscribers on our store a couple of years ago. And then we made an intentional effort to improve and grow our subscriptions. And as of recently, we've just surpassed 11,000 active subscriptions. Now, subscriptions are slightly different than subscribers. Subscriptions are the amount of items that are being repurchased, whereas subscribers, a little bit less than that. So some people have multiple subscriptions going on. But that was a nice milestone to finally break through 10K and sets us up for a more stable future where we can predict kind of what kind of revenue is going to be coming in. And I'm pretty proud of that. I think there's still room to grow. We haven't seen any significant churn going on. We're still adding members every week. So that's kind of a good sign for setting us up for the future. We also had a win with our 3PL partner. We moved from a partner, we moved twice. We had a kind of like a distributed partnership, and then we moved up to Wisconsin to be close to our manufacturer. And that partner was not the right fit for us. And then within a month, maybe 2 months, we had to move again to this new partner who's here in the Austin, Texas area. And that partner has been great. They're a real small 3PL. I think it's us and maybe 3 or 4 other brands that they're currently serving. So we get a real nice white glove treatment, which is what we want to offer to our customers as well. So a lot of attention is put into how our items are packaged. A lot of attention's going into, are we using the right boxes, the right sizes? Are we making sure that we're paying the right amount of money for our shipping? And when there have been problems, this 3PL has been quick to take responsibility and burden their own mistakes rather than making us bear the burden of their mistakes, paying for things. So really fortunate to have our 3PL, highly impressed with the work they've done. And it's also nice to just have something a little bit closer that we can run by and check out things and, meet the people who are filling our boxes. That's been great. Speaking of great partners, our manufacturing partner has been phenomenal making that switch. They're actually a listener of e-commerce conversations. So It's a lesson in sharing your problems publicly, and then solutions can very much come your way. Our partner has been amazing. They've been able to manufacture in a way that suits the needs of our business. I like to keep very lean inventory. I would rather place multiple smaller orders more regularly than larger orders and have those sit on the shelves, especially in Austin when warehouses can get pretty warm. So it's been a great relationship working with them. They've produced the majority of our products, not all of our products. And we found some luck with other manufacturers as well that we've switched to. There hasn't been the same kind of manufacturing issue that we had in previous years. So that's been a major win. And it really does lower a lot of the stress. Like I take it's very hard for me to read reviews or comments of customers who are not satisfied with the product. And when you're not aligned with your manufacturer, you see a lot of that, where the QA maybe is not to the level that you want it to be. But when you have a great partner, then, those kind of tickets stop coming in. And it's usually the tickets that come in are going to be out of stock concern. So we're okay being out of stock for a couple of days or a week or so of products as we try to keep that inventory super lean. Speaking of which, inventory has been much leaner. That's been a major win for us. Part of our major losses in 2023, 2024 was we had inventory that was not sellable and we had to destroy it. I don't feel comfortable putting product out there that's been sitting on the shelf for a really long time. And in hindsight, maybe I could have done a better job, like finding a liquidator like TJ Maxx, Kohl's, or whatever those companies are. But we weren't able to do that in the time frame that we're looking to. So liquidation is not a skill set that I have, nor is that a skill set that I ever want to develop. So I will continue to try to build the business to be as lean as possible, and keep those MOQs as low as possible with our partnerships, and keep those turnarounds super quick. And if you can find a partner that handles those things, life gets a lot easier. I know a lot of people will order from China, and there's just that inherent shipping delay that comes along with your products. The beauty for us is we produce our core products here in America, so our shipping is typically no more than about a week time frame in worst case scenario. So it's been real nice to be able to not have as much capital tied up into our inventory. Another major win for us has been our product launches and engagement with our customers. I had a guest on the show, Philip Jackson, and he has a tagline that commerce is culture. And, kind of the interactions between customers and companies really defines, culture. And I thought about that a lot. I thought that was a really keen observation and an important thing to talk about among e-commerce space, D2C space. And I leaned into that a little bit. So we've done a lot of limited edition fragrances over the years, and we decided to make one of those limited edition fragrances a permanent addition to our product offering. And what we did is if our customers purchase any of our limited edition fragrances, they were going to be able to vote. The more limited edition fragrances they purchased, the more votes that they would get. And it was a really fun time in the business to really it's kind of for entrepreneurs who are control freaks like me, it's a little unnerving to give up a little bit of your control to your customers and letting them decide which fragrance or which product line they want to add. And at the end of the day, I mean, part of what we're doing is for our customers. And if we really do exist for our customers, and if we're not delivering things for our customers that they desire, then it's going to be much more difficult. So to be able to put on this voting, to have them experiment with multiple limited edition fragrances and to vote on it, and then to finally launch those new ones. And for those who do not follow Beardbrand, the winner was Norse Winter. Right here. We currently have Norse Winter available in a EDP cologne. We have it available in our beard oil and our beard balm. So yeah. And we also launched a utility bar in our other line, Old Fortune. So head over to beardbrand.com if you want to level up your grooming routine. Our fragrances are amazing. It doesn't matter if you're a dude or a dudette. You can get the fragrances in, use them yourself, or give them as a gift. Amazing products. Head over to beardbrand.com and kind of experience the stuff that we've been doing. And then I've already talked about the profitability. That's a big one. And another like cloud over my head has been our big office. Basically, at our peak, our office size or our team size was about 20 to 23 team members. And now we're down to about 7. So there's been a huge attrition in the amount of people that work at Beardbrand. And we no longer had that need for that mega, I want to call it a mega office, but it was a fairly sizable office. And we were just paying basically $10,000 a week. That was just money blowing out of the wind. I mean, that's 120K a year. That's a couple of salaries, depending on who you're hiring, or it's a little bit of money back into your pocket. So we were able to get our office sublease. Unfortunately, it wasn't for the full 10K, but we were subsidizing it a couple thousand. And to me, that's better than nothing. So our lease will officially be up in June of 2026, and we'll finally have that barnacle off of the business. Yeah, let's get into the bad. Of course, my bad list is just as long as my good list, which kind of seems to be the case. The major one, I think, is I believe that our industry has moved from a blue ocean to a red ocean. And if you're not familiar with those terms, blue ocean is basically like it's wide open. There's opportunity abound. Maybe this is like AI a couple of years ago. Maybe this is like the automotive or automobile back in the 90s, whereas or the beard care industry in 2014. Right now, I believe that our industry has stagnated a fair amount. I've seen this in Google search results. Terms like how to grow a beard are declining. Terms for our products like beard oil, beard balm, they've kind of leveled out. There hasn't been a lot of growth in that over the past couple of years. And compared to other terms with products that have been around forever, like shampoo, bar soap, cologne, all those seem to be continuing to rise. So it's not like people move into AI kind of thing or search not being monitored. I've also looked at a lot of the notable players in the space who have been around a similar length of time as us. And I've noticed like the search term for all those brands, so it's like Beardbrand and our top 4 competitors are all flat to down. If something's not growing, it's dying. I think a lot of people in the space will say that. So it's kind of interesting to be in an industry that maybe has leveled out and it's gotten really cutthroat. And this is a different strategy for me. I've got to figure out how to persevere through this where, it's becoming more of a fixed pie opportunity. And I think, through creative strategies, we'll be able to get out of it, but we have to be able to execute a little bit better. Speaking of getting out of it, I think one of the ways to get out of it is through organic content and producing really amazing content that sets our brand apart. Unfortunately for us, our organic content has not been firing on all cylinders as well. Some of the content we produce has been hit or miss. We haven't been able to regularly produce at the quantity and quality that I'm looking for. So that's the good news is a big opportunity for us to improve. And I think if we do improve that, we'll be able to develop and build those relationships with our intended audience. Another bad, this is for us and probably a lot of people, I haven't figured out Meta yet. We still haven't figured out how to scale it. We similar to our organic content, we'll seem to get one ad that hits and then gets a little bit of steam and you're like, all right, we're on the Meta train. We're going to do this. We're going to be spending $10,000 a day. And then like a couple of days later, it just kind of falls flat. And it's been this cycle for a while. We've gotten up to, I don't know, about $30,000 a month of spend. What is that? $1,000 a day, give or take a little bit. Nothing notably higher than that or notably lower than that. We are integrating more data-oriented decision-making going forward. We just started that here in December. So I'm excited to see how that data perspective into our content or into our ads is going to help us. So I'm still committed to Meta. I still think there's a ton of opportunity out there. And hopefully in 2026 is going to be the year that we figure out Meta and scale it up. All right. Another bad we had is I was hoping for growth in 2025. We went through a lot of, kind of fixing things in 2023 and 2024 with the expectation of 2025 to be an increase year over year. Unfortunately, I mean, I've got a couple more weeks left in the year, but it doesn't look like we're going to be able to beat last year's numbers. So that was really a major sticking point for us. And it caused us to make a really hard decision to lean out our team a couple weeks ago. So we had to let go two great people. One was a community manager. One was our bookkeeper. And of course, as a small company, they wore a lot of hats and they did a lot of things. And they've been with Beardbrand for a really long time. So that was a very hard thing. That was something that I was hoping that we could grow the company back out to kind of get back to previous numbers that we were doing. And like 2022, 2021, and then, have our P&L not so heavy on the fixed cost. Unfortunately, we didn't see the growth that I was looking for, and it finally came time that we had to make that call. So if you do need a community manager or a bookkeeper, hit me up on Twitter or email me, eric@beardbrand.com, and I'll make an introduction. I gladly would refer them. I wish we had a business I could employ them because they're good people that do good work and have high standards and high moral core. So that was a really tough decision for me and not one that I liked. Amazon has also regressed this year. We've been working with the same partner for 3 years. I like the partner, but it's of my belief that they've grown and subsequently they've brought on some really killer brands. And I don't think we're meshing as well as we were in the early days. We kind of hit this plateau. We've tried a lot of things to their efforts. It's not like they were stagnant. And then I feel like it's just kind of by the end of it, it feels like it's time to change it up. I've been with them for 3 years. They've helped us along for 3 years, and then we'll see if bringing on a new Amazon agency will help just bring some new energy and fresh blood into the account. And the final bad thing that went on, which is ironic after I talked about how good our manufacturing is that our great manufacturing partner has decided to move a different direction with their business and will no longer be able to serve us. And that's always a tough thing when you finally get something figured out and we got to go back to the drawing board. Luckily, they've been very favorable. They've kind of given us pretty much like a year heads up to be able to find our next partner and being able to transition all those products to the next one. So I hate it because I really love that manufacturer, but that's kind of the name of the game it's really like Goldilocks, with manufacturers. You don't want to be too big. You don't want to be too small. You want to find that manufacturer that is just right, where they're excited to serve you and make products for you, and you're excited to work with them because they're delivering to your company's needs. Now on to the ugly. And fortunately, the ugly is a pretty short list. I feel like this year was pretty drama-free for the most part. We hadn't experienced a lot of notable issues. The major one was we got sued again this year. I didn't really do a podcast on it. Kind of wanted to keep it under wraps. It was a patent troll that sued us. And, patent court's a little bit different than the ADA world. And if you followed along, that with the ADA, we fought it. We've invested heavily into our website to make it accessible to people with disabilities, people with vision issues. And it made sense for us to fight that. And fortunately, we were able to eventually get that one dismissed. This one, the patent ones, like the risk is so much higher to fight it. With our fighting our ADA lawsuit, we ended up spending $17,000, which ends up kind of being what you end up paying if you settle. So for us, and especially the position that our business was in after multiple years of losses and not seeing growth in the top line, we try to figure out a way to get out of that as cost efficiently as possible. So I swallowed my pride. That's one we ended up settling on. Felt more okay or at peace with settling the patent troll because it's unlikely for someone else to sue us for the same thing. They can no longer sue us again for the patents that they claim we infringe upon. We, someone else would have to kind of have the same patent to be able to make that claim. So I feel like, and of course I'm going to not congratulate, but confirm my decision, I think, in this matter. But we were very helpful that members of the community, the D2C community on Twitter or X was able to help us out and got us a great connection with a lawyer. So we were actually able to get out of that. Well, I can't really talk about settlement rates with that. So, but for it being ugly, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be when we got sued. Finally, they've I think they sued 4 other guests on this podcast. I know they sued Paul with BK Beauty. They sued Dorian with Dylan. They sued a few other Austin companies I know, Summer Moon. So it was they sued Tecovas. So I was actually kind of in a good situation where I knew a lot of people who got sued, and I just reached out to them, and we were able to consolidate a lot of our legal fees or a legal strategy to a single person. And I think that was helpful to kind of mitigate things as well. So I'm glad that was done. Hopefully I don't have any lawsuits in 2026, knock on wood. It would be nice to go a couple years without getting sued. And we're doing everything that we can. Our privacy policy is updated. We have a cookie pop-up for pixel tracking for, about 13 states or something like that. We're constantly auditing our website when it comes to ADA compliance. So it would be really frustrating to get sued considering all the energy and efforts that we put into our website to mitigate against that. The last ugly, I don't know if it's really ugly, but it's kind of ugly. I probably got into more online arguments than I should have, but I enjoy it. Let's just say it. Sometimes it's fun to argue on the internet, and I recognize that there's no winning in it sometimes other than just the joy of the game, like some of us just enjoy arguing. And I am one of those people. I feel like if I don't get to argue on the internet from time to time, I lose a little bit of soul. I know the more intelligent person is not going to argue or engage in that way on the internet, but you just got to put yourself out there. You got to make claims. You got to defend something. You got to get that blood flowing. You got to live. Life is too short to self-censor yourself on every subject. It's not saying you got to argue everything, live a life of arguing, but from time to time, I feel like you got to take a stand in life, and then also be willing to be wrong. And you only find out if you're wrong if you start arguing and you get someone with a really good point, and you can reconsider what your thoughts are. So I don't know. Maybe that's not an ugly. Maybe that was a good. Maybe it was a good getting a couple arguments. Let's go into the personal. Why the heck am I in this business? I talked about it. Like, one of the goods was that we were profitable, but in that profitability included the ownership team taking a significant haircut and how much we pull out of the business. And, going into 2026, one of the goals is to get back to kind of like paying ourselves first, or a profit first kind of mentality. And that was, like one of the reasons why, even though we were profitable, if we paid ourselves, market rates for what we were doing, then I don't know if we would have been profitable. It was like a really kind of a barely profitable. So that now that we're kind of getting into that profit first mindset, and hopefully we can really focus on that bottom line and have it be profitable while still being in a position to pay for the things that I need to pay for in my personal life. And I've had to pull out a lot of savings over these past couple of years to maintain our standard of living. And unfortunately, I had savings because I've been diligent in that. But I would ideally not like to do that anymore. So that's more of a going forward thing. I would say probably the highlight of my 2025 from a personal standpoint is I was able to take my now 12-year-old daughter on a father-daughter trip to Japan. Travel is something that I enjoy thoroughly. She fortunately enjoys travel as well. She's been into the manga books or anime. She has a cousin who also went to Japan. And it was something that I feel like we could share. My daughter is certainly a mama's girl, and I've kind of been second fiddle for 11 years. And I really wanted to make sure that as she gets into her womanhood, and as, her parents kind of go down a couple of totems on the totem pole, that she'll have a positive experience to look back on. Time is fleeting, like she's never going to be little again. Gotta do those events. So I was pretty proud to do that. Another win personally, health has been good. I've been able to get back into rowing, stay lifting, haven't dealt with any notable injuries this year. Been fortunate that my wife and my kids have been healthy as well. Always grateful for that. I know, again, not everybody has that, so I feel pretty fortunate in that. Man, I got a lot of gratitude going on. I've a real good friend group, both here in Austin and online around the world and on the internet, D2CX. Great group there. So I feel very fortunate that I've been able to kind of air my problems with close friends to help guide me through the challenging times. And there's certainly been a lot of challenge. But with those personal wins, I did have a personal loss. My wife and I did a transfer for our last embryo. For anyone who's been through IVF, you know how challenging it can be. Unfortunately for us, the transfer was not successful. And also, unfortunately for us, that was our last embryo. So it's an interesting time for me and my wife as we come to terms with the fact that there will be no kids for us in the future. Hopefully grandkids if we are so blessed and lucky. But that was a journey that started in like 2011, 2012, and it felt like it was never going to end. And now in 2025, it's kind of officially over. So it's like 10 to 15 years of my life have been this infertility crisis. For those who don't know, we've had, I guess now like 11 losses or 10 losses, kind of lose track of them. A lot of pregnancies, natural pregnancies with blighted ovums, a lot of miscarriages. We've had heartbeats that we lost the babies on. So that's tough, but it's over. So I share these things knowing that some of y'all are going through some things. You're not alone. It's hard. But everything ends, the good and the bad. Everything ends. You got to enjoy the now. I appreciate you guys. Sorry to get a little emotional on you. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not sorry. Happy to share. Happy to be out there for you guys, for the people who need it. Been another e-commerce conversations. Cheers. Keep on growing.